Amani and Kofi had grown up together in the warm heart of an African village, where red earth roads curled between mud brick homes and the smell of wood fire drifted through every morning. They were more than brothers. They were shadows of each other, never seen apart, always sharing dreams, troubles, and laughter. But beneath that closeness, something dark waited for its moment to rise. It began on a night when thunder split the sky open like a cracked drum and rain poured so hard it washed away footprints from the ground. The boys found themselves walking toward the abandoned shrine that stood just outside the village, a place the elders warned everyone never to approach, a place whispered to be alive with ancient spirits that never truly slept. Curiosity pulled them forward, their hearts pounding as lightning glowed on the shrine's carved walls, revealing symbols no living villager could read. The air was cold and heavy, even though it was supposed to be the warm season, and a strange scent like burning herbs hung around the entrance. Amani stepped inside first, Kofi close behind, both feeling eyes watching them from the shadows. At the shrine's center lay a glowing stone, pulsing like a heartbeat, lighting the room with an eerie golden breath. Amani reached toward it even as Kofi begged him to stop, but the moment his fingers touched the stone, the ground trembled and a deep whisper rose from the walls, calling their names, promising destiny, power, and danger. A blinding flash swallowed the shrine, and when they opened their eyes, the storm outside was gone, replaced by an unsettling silence. Amani's eyes had changed, something ancient flickered behind them, and Kofi felt a cold shiver crawl up his back. They hid the stone and swore to keep their discovery a secret, but the village soon felt the ripples of what they had awakened. Fires lit without matches, animals refused to sleep, and the village healer sensed a curse drifting in the air. Amani began to have visions that left him sweating in the night, while Kofi heard voices whispering warnings from corners with no people in them. The stone hummed in the dark, glowing brighter each night, as though it were calling something closer. Shadows followed them, footsteps echoed behind them when no one walked there, and each sunrise felt heavier than the last. Their laughter faded, replaced by fear they didn't know how to share, fear that if they confessed, the elders would punish them, yet if they stayed silent, something ancient would rise and take what it wanted. The stone pulsed beneath Amani's mattress like a living creature, feeding on their fear, growing stronger as the days passed. Villagers whispered about curses, about forbidden magic returning after generations of silence, and suspicion circled the boys like vultures waiting for the truth to die. Amani felt power in his veins, power that scared him, power he couldn't control, while Kofi felt eyes watching him even in daylight, shadows stretching longer than they should. They were trapped between loyalty and terror, bound to a secret that could shatter their entire world. But the stone didn't care about their fear, it only pulsed brighter, as if counting down to the moment everything would change forever. Days turned into nights as Amani and Kofi tried to hide the stone's growing power, but secrets have a way of pulling everything apart, and soon even there, friendship began to feel the weight of something dark stalking their shadows. Amani became quieter, often staring into the distance, as if he could see things that did not belong to their world, while Kofi became jumpy, always glancing over his shoulder as though something breathed down his neck. The stone's whisper followed them everywhere they went, at the river while fetching water in the fields while working beside the elders, even at night when the whole village slept. A soft, eerie chant twisted into their dreams, calling them back to the shrine. One evening, Amani confessed that the stone spoke more clearly to him now, telling him that he had been chosen for greatness, that he was meant to rise above everyone else, a claim that unsettled Kofi deeply, because the Amani he knew was humble, gentle, and never hungry for power. But the more days passed, the more Amani's eyes glowed faintly in the dark, and Kofi felt their bond slip like sand between his fingers. Then, one night, the spirit finally revealed itself, a tall shadow on the edge of the forest, its eyes burning like dying embers as it whispered Amani's name with a voice that seemed to drag the air itself. Kofi froze, terrified, but Amani stepped forward in a trance, and the shadow told him he was the rightful heir to the village. the one destined to rule with the power of the stone. Panic spread through Kofi's chest and he grabbed Amani's arm, begging him to come back to his senses. But Amani pulled away, trembling, torn between the friend he loved and the power that tempted him. That night changed everything. Amani stopped eating with the other villagers, kept to himself, and spoke less to Kofi, as though something else lived inside him now. The villagers began whispering about a curse, a sickness, a punishment from the ancestors, and their fear grew like wildfire. The healer spotted strange marks appearing on Amani's arms, ancient symbols that glowed faintly under moonlight, and warned the elders that the boys had touched something forbidden. Before long, the elders called a secret meeting at the edge of the forest, and Kofi overheard them planning to send warriors to capture Amani at sunrise to bind him before the spirit inside him could awaken fully. Terrified, Kofi ran to warn his friend, but when he reached Amani's hut, he found him standing in the moon's silver glow, holding the stone in both hands, breathing heavily like someone preparing for battle. For a moment, Amani's true self broke through, fear shining in his eyes as he told Kofi that the spirit wanted to use his body as a vessel, and that if the villagers captured him, the spirit would lash out and destroy everything. Kofi hugged him tightly, tears burning his eyes as he swore he would not let anything happen to him. But the ground suddenly began to tremble, trees swayed wildly though no wind blew, and the shadow from the shrine appeared again, this time closer, stronger, more desperate. A cold voice echoed through the night, telling Amani the time had come, urging him to surrender completely, and Amani dropped to his knees, shaking violently as the spirit's grip tightened. Kofi knelt beside him, shouting for him to fight back, begging him to remember who he was, reminding him of their childhood, their laughter, their dreams, every memory that made them brothers. Slowly, Amani lifted his head, and for the first time in days, Kofi saw the boy he loved like a brother return in his eyes. But the shadow roared in fury and surged toward them, forcing Kofi to make an impossible decision, either run for help and risk coming back too late, or stay and face something that could kill them both. Kofi grabbed Amani's shoulders and whispered that he would never leave him, even if it meant facing death, and with that vow spoken under the trembling sky, something shifted. The stone pulsed once, then twice, then released a burst of light that swallowed the entire clearing. When the light faded, Amani collapsed unconscious, the shadow vanished, and Kofi was left alone in the silent night, holding his friend and realizing their dangerous secret had reached a point where turning back was no longer possible. What awaited them next would test not only their loyalty, but the fate of the entire village. When the sun went down that night, Zuri and Amara met again at the old banana grove, the place where all their secrets grew roots, and both girls could feel the weight of what they were hiding pressing harder than ever before. Because now it wasn't just a shared danger, it was a shared destiny pulling them in directions neither understood. Zuri kept pacing, her mind racing as she whispered, "If we keep this inside, someone else will get hurt. Maybe us." But Amara held her arm gently and replied, "If we tell, we lose everything. Our families, our future, each other." And the tremble in her voice made Zuri freeze, because Amara only trembled when she felt truly afraid. The dark wind rustled through the trees like a warning, and somewhere in the distance a dog barked, as if the night itself sensed the truth hanging in the air. Amara looked around nervously before pulling out the old carved wooden box, the one they had buried a year ago, the one containing the real reason they were trapped in this dangerous pact. When she opened it, the moonlight hid the object inside, the blood-stained bracelet belonging to the village chief's son, the same bracelet he wore the night he vanished, the same night. Zuri and Amara saw something no one else was supposed to see, something supernatural, something evil, something alive. Zuri swallowed hard and whispered, "We should have burned it." But Amara shook her head sharply and said, "You can't burn what belongs to the spirit world. You know that." A sudden heavy silence fell between them as memories of that night crashed into their minds like a violent storm. The glowing eyes in the forest, the whispering shadows, the scream that wasn't human, and the way the ground shook as if something beneath the earth was waking up. Zuri felt her chest tighten, fear blending with guilt and loyalty as she said, "We promised to protect each other. But what if this destroys us both?" Amara stepped closer, her eyes glistening in the moonlight. "Zuri, you're all I have. If this secret gets out, they won't listen, they'll blame us." And Zuri suddenly realized that beneath Amara's strength was a fragile heartbeat depending entirely on her. Before Zuri could answer, they heard footsteps approaching, the slow, deliberate kind that meant someone was listening, someone who knew, someone who had been waiting. Both girls froze, clutching the box, their breaths thin as the leaves around them shook. A shadow appeared behind the trees, tall and still, as if carved from darkness itself. Amara grabbed Zuri's hand tightly, her nails digging into her skin, and whispered with trembling lips, "Zuri." Someone followed us. The figure stepped closer, and the faint glimmer of a familiar necklace shone under the moonlight, one they recognized instantly, one that shouldn't be there, one that belonged to someone they believed was dead. Zuri's heart nearly stopped as she whispered, "No, it can't be him." But the figure moved again, the shadows peeling away, revealing a face that should have never returned, a face carrying the truth that could burn their entire world down. Their dangerous secret was no longer just a secret. It had come back to claim them. And so, the secret they guarded tighter than their own breath finally shaped their destiny. Some truths bury friendships, and some truths bind souls forever. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to African Folktales Official for more stories that touch the heart. Bye!